All right, let's start up. We are back with more Deceive Inc. Here we are for the patch notes for the world's finest update, aka Catalogue 4, aka the Season 4 update is now here. And well, here's our excellent imagery here, but we are gonna have to push on real quick because there is a lot to go through and I don't want this video to be too long. But we're here for the world's finest update, new season, new agent, superhero theme, and a bunch of changes across the board. So let's just get right into it. New Agent Vigil has been added, I guess, revealed to be formerly Agent Knight, Squire's mentor. If you're into the lore, that's got some big repercussions there, but if you're not that into the lore, we got a new agent. We'll be seeing our first look, possibly already did see our first look. It's still not sure what order these videos are going to come out in, but Vigil joins the cast as newest agent, large toolkit of tactical options and weaponry. Her expertise are alternate weapons, bringing unique abilities, smoke bombs, stun guns, and aerial mobility. Her passives allow her to deploy small tactical devices that expand your options, including scouting, trapping, and blocking your rivals in all new ways. I haven't played with Vigil at all yet at the time of recording this, so I'm really excited for that. And well, we'll see it in a video. Either you already did or you'll see it tomorrow. New catalog, of course, superhero theme here, the usual 50 levels of unlocks. And if you get the premium catalog, which I'm assuming is 1,000 bonds, I didn't check, I should have, but they've always been 1,000 bonds in the past. So for 1,000 bonds, you can immediately unlock Vigil and a costume for them. Or you can still buy Vigil with credits that you can just earn by playing. All right, account level raised to 600. So if you were 500 before, now you can get all the way to 600. And there's the hematite ink. Looks like that. Pretty excited. That's one of Vigil's guns there, by the way. All right, this probably isn't all that important. I'm not even sure it was like the way they said it was, but basically, you don't have the premium previous catalog. You can still spend tokens on the previous catalogs, but I think you could before. I never did because I always have the premium catalog, but I feel like I saw people who didn't own previous catalogs still spending tokens on them. So I'm not entirely sure about what this is, but you can spend catalog tokens on previous catalogs whether you own them or not now. All right, this is the big one that people talked about a lot when it was kind of leaked. It wasn't leaked, but like teased, I guess is the right word. But briefcase, scanning with the briefcase no longer pauses the ping. It will now slow it down by 50%. So the maximum amount of time you can go between pings, no matter what you do, is gonna be 45 seconds. Right? If you have the max exfil scanner, you have a ton of intel, and you're, Larcin, Madam type stuff with abilities, it doesn't matter. The most amount of time between pings is gonna be 45 seconds. There's been some back and forth for various people about how, whether this is good, bad, or straight nerfs to Larcin and Madam or Octo, because they're usually the three who come up when you mention ping stalling. 45 seconds is a long time in this game. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. I think it's probably good that you can't go minutes between pings. I think 45 seconds is a really long time. I'm kind of impressed it's still that long. So I think it's gonna be fine personally. And if it does turn out to be a direct nerf to Larcin, I mean, I'll be a little sad, not that sad, but maybe he can get some power back in a different way. I think we can all kind of agree that the going minutes between package pings wasn't all that great for the game. It wasn't necessarily that fun to do when you were doing it, and it wasn't really that fun to play against, so I don't really mind it not being there anymore. But yeah. All right, nearest distract. This isn't a big deal. Basically, when it calls the car, instead of the physically closest car, it's going to actually use like the nav mode distance, and basically it's the closest path to the car. So the closest car is going to be a little better than it used to be. Bunch of NPC changes coming up. Here's a very important one. When the vault opens, guards will seek to enter, which means hopefully that guards are going to be actively entering the vault at the start of phase 2, which means you won't just automatically shoot anyone entering the vault at phase 2, because previously you just shot anyone you saw going in because only players were really going in. Occasionally a guard would go in, but like not really. especially not right at the start. But now it's like hard coded in there to be like, when it opens, guards are going in, which should allow players, you know, stealth you to go in. All right, better combat awareness. This is all a big paragraph that says basically rooms now get highlighted when there's a fight going on. So if someone enters the room, like another NPC, they realize the fight's going on, which like seems weird, but like that's how it, I guess, is coded on their end. Basically rooms are labeled with fight going on, and then, you know, they won't stop being scared as long as they're in the room with the fight. If they enter the room, they become scared, and players entering the room, like, their cover reacts correctly, so they blend in better. Guards are now going to be less likely to open a bathroom stall on you, because you previously, like, bathroom stalls was where you think would be a good spot to get cover back, but most of the time the guard would just like walk up and open the door, and then there was nowhere for you to hide once you were in there. So now it's not saying they never open a bathroom stall door, but it's gonna be less frustrating. So hopefully that's the case. Alright, bunch of settings changes I'm not really gonna get into, but controller menu tweaks, controller slider tweaks. The nav mode has a camera sensitivity slider, so you can change your sensitivity specifically for when you're in nav mode. Presumably for everyone, but they specifically call out controller here since that's probably the most important one to have it on. And then some networking info has a switch here in the settings so that you can get hidden or like a little bit of info or full details if you need to like probably get in-depth information to share with the team to like help them figure it out, I'm assuming. So that's just nice to have. Change to in-on player mode. I mean, I understand why they did this. I don't know if it's it doesn't really matter to me, but like, it's interesting that it was done. Basically, anyone with in-on player name is just going to be secret agent and then a number between 0 and 999. So you'll be able to much more easily identify anonymous players, which, I mean, I guess they're still anonymous, but now you just know they're anonymous. But it's supposed to help them with reporting in the back end. So I even though it's going to be like, even though it's a little weird to help identify anonymous players, it does help them with reporting, and I'm for that. All right, you can now buy XP boosters. They're going to cost 1,000 credits, which seems like a lot, but they specifically call out it's intended for high-level players because I have like thousands or I think I have 140,000 credits or something. So it's not designed to like skip early progression. It's designed for echelon grind type stuff where if you have 140,000 credits, you can buy some XP boosters and help your echelon grind. This one is really cool. The VIPs are now going to have 2 elite guards or just guards following them. From now on, yeah, guards will escort VIPs around the map. It doesn't specifically say elite, so it's probably just guards. But basically, that's if you are the VIP, you will attract some guards to escort you around. Seems pretty cool. I actually want to see what that's like. And in team modes, if you know, you can get 1 person disguised as the VIP, 2 people disguised as guards, and it's less sus if there's, you know, a trio of that versus 3 guards running around. So that's that. But yeah, makes VIPs more interesting for sure. You can now ping rival gadgets. I mean, you could before, but now it's a context ping, I believe. So that's going to be helpful. Some UI changes, specifically ally HUD and team mode. And they're changing, making things more legible, and they're just generally working on the UI, but specifically calling out that ally view, which allows them to see an exact number of revives. They're always updating spawns. I'm not going to read this whole thing. They're updating spawns again to make it better. Friends XP modifier. If you get a friend to play the game, meaning I believe you're just playing together and they're on your friends list, you get 15% more XP, which is just a bonus. So if you're in duos and trios and you have a friend, someone on your friends list in your party, you just both get more XP. It's great. Play with your friends. XP is better in the late game now, or they've changed them to make it better in the late game. Basically, these late game things are now give you more XP. Lost and found boxes give you XP. They didn't before. XP cassettes in general give you a little more, but things like entering the vault, picking up the package, extracting, and yeah, extracting buffed in 2 ways, I suppose. Just the amount of XP it gets and the multiplier you get for actually extracting versus killing everybody. Yeah, that's that. Lost and found boxes is going to now be in every single staff room, which is great. So that's random what's in them, but not random where they are. They're going to be in every single green room. But the randomness is still on what's inside them, not where they are. And they took credit purses out. So I no longer have to spend 5 intel to get 25 more credits to my 140,000 credits. So that's really nice. This is really cool. Larcin is now a starting character. So I'm not sure if that means Larcin just gets unlocked. I assume they just unlock them for every account that exists and every account going forward. Not really sure if it's like people who start the game now get him unlocked. I mean, it does mean that, but I don't know if it's, you know, I don't know if you didn't own him before, he'll be unlocked, but he's now a starting character, which I think is good because what they call out here is right. He's got very unique abilities, offering good options, and like is pretty new player friendly. And I like that. That's a good change, especially since now at 12 agents, 4 of them being starting kind of keeps the ratio nice. All right, map updates, Diamond Spire. They specifically call it the roof and the lobby. So the lobby, you can see here, got some changes for a lot more cover. And the roof here, they moved the A extraction point to this side, and there's a lot more trees and cover and such in this area now than there used to be. So pretty cool, and well, I'm interested to see what's going on here. All right, some other small changes to Hard Cell, Diamond Spire, and Silvery Vaults. They don't have pictures of these ones, so we'll have to see those together in-game. But basically, those rooms with like one... The spots with like one big room, especially Diamond Spire, where all 3 like paths just lead to that one big room. They added some stuff to block line of sights, is how I'm reading this. Again, there's no pictures, so, but yeah, I think that's what they're going for. But yeah, we'll see. All right, and some general balance. The melee delay after shot, apparently, I feel like this is more of a bug fix than a thing, but in Season 2, there was a delay after shooting before you could melee, unless you hit your melee the exact frame after you shot. And I feel like this was just a bug fix and doesn't affect most people, but basically this is now working as intended, I guess. And here we go for agent feedback, and they are now using the community names for things. Weapon Mod 1 is now actually going to be called Weapon 2 in the document, which is just great for me because I used to like have to translate that on the fly and it got a little confusing. So big thanks to them for using the community names for these going forward. And we'll go right in here with Ace. Ace, they buffed these recently to 40 seconds and they've rolled it back a little bit to 35. I don't have a lot to say on this. I didn't really play Ace enough when they were at 40 seconds to know if there's going to be a huge change, so I don't have a lot to say on it. Obviously, it's a bit of a buff. Is it a huge buff? Not really, but yeah, I guess I don't know on this one is the answer. But this is really this is not a change. I mean, it's a change, but it doesn't buff or nerf. Basically, they changed it so that Ace's passives wouldn't charge when you were in the in-between shot animations, which did make her feel clunky. So they made it so you now could charge on those in-between shots and when she's doing like animations, but they increased the charge time so the total charge time didn't change. So it should feel better, but it's not actually going to be better, which is, I think, good. If it feels better and that's the balance level that they're going for, then that's good. So yeah, since this is a little hard to explain, for example, on a weapon 1, if you previously before the previous change, if you just stayed scope in, you could fire all 5 shots charged without having to really wait between each shot, and then they changed it so you had to wait between each shot to get the charge, and now the charge is going to start at the same time as it did in the first scenario, but it's going to take the amount of time as it did in the second scenario. I don't know if that made it clear. That might have made it worse. But we'll move on to Cavaliere. Cavaliere feels very oppressive with their expertise 1. Yada yada yada. Let's see what they actually did. Her weapon 3 headshot damage went down. That's probably good. These weapons were incredibly strong, and just lowering that headshot damage. I'm not going to do the math on what, you know, the time to kill is now, but they were very strong, potentially up there for strongest in game. And well, now they're a little worse. That's probably an overall good thing. Your expertise 1 investigation clues don't last as long as they used to, but the refund's up a little higher than they just nerfed it to be. But the duration 1 and 2 clues last significantly less time, and they buffed the cooldown. So a little kind of buff overall there. I'll say these get a little worse because they really want you to find 3 clues, but the refund rate is up, the cooldown's back up, and the clue lifetime being down might matter, but it's really hard to tell how much that's gonna matter without playing with it a lot in games. So probably not a huge deal. Little buff to redemption here. Well, not really little, big buff. You can investigate the package ping. Yeah, that you can now investigate the package ping. We're gonna probably be trying to do that. It's gonna be pretty cool. And then the hollow breadcrumbs, the little blue and red dots you see when people change cover, they used to only last 10 seconds. Now they're 15 seconds, which buffs this ability technically. And it also got a less cooldown to match that one. Will this be a good ability now? Really tough to say. It's definitely better than it was, and this seems really interesting. Like, just this alone might bring its power level way up, and then this is kind of just a nice to have. I'm not really sure that's gonna huge buff, but we'll see. And this is to do with the extraction changes again. If you use the Tiger's Leap, the package ping's gonna build up faster. Kind of makes sense. You're moving faster, that ping's gonna build up faster. All right, the only thing Larcin got this update was addressing ping stalling. So all of his less expertises, when he's invisible, the ping will now continue to build up. That's his only change right now. Hans, weapon 2, he's got some bug fixes down below, but his weapon 2 here got his spray pattern adjusted to be more vertical, which is kind of good because it used to be an X, which was kind of weird. So like a vertical pattern makes more sense because you're usually wanting to hit one person and not like a little bit of damage to one person in the wall next to them. So there we go. Buff to Madam Weapon 3 here. Well, actually down here, we'll get to it. Expertise-wise, again, this is just to do with the package pinging. When you use them, your briefcase ping's going to accelerate to half of the run speed value. Basically, when you snap, your package ping's going to go up. And then this is a little quality of life thing. If no NPC, like if the last NPC like walks out of your vision, you get a little moment to click the button, even though they might be out of your vision, just to make it so that you don't accidentally get stuck, which used to kind of happen a lot. So if it's just like a little bit longer where you can get that last person before they leave your vision, I think that's probably a good change and isn't as annoying. All right, the Madam Weapon 3 buff, they put the fire rate from the maximum fire rate from 8.1 to 9. I assume this means that also the fire rate scales faster, but I'm not entirely sure how the scaling on that works. But like it reads like a buff. Hopefully it is a buff. We'll definitely test that out and see. All right. Octo passive 1 was hit mostly because of the ping stalling, so they're giving it some power back now that ping stalling has been solved in other ways. I really like this change. It means they're, this is a lot. They managed to give this back its power while also still fixing the problem they were trying to fix. So, pretty nice. Okay, the Jack of Heart Red Weapon 2 got changes to its scope to make aiming easier. I haven't seen it yet, but hopefully it is. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with it personally, but like if it makes aiming easier, I'm all for it. It doesn't change the power of the weapon. I think the weapon was fine in its power level before, so if you can just make it easier to aim with, whatever the issue was, I'm for that. All right, They call it Sasori Weapon 2 here because of its nerf. Most of it was positive to the experience. Sure. But we do think we went a bit far. Probably. Right, let's look at what they actually did. So they upped the headshot damage of the kunai from 10 to 12, so that was 50, and now it's 60 on the headshots for the kunais. That's probably good. I kind of would have liked to see the sword charge damage go back up a little bit. Having only hit for 60 feels a little rough, especially because they didn't buff the body shot damage on this, so it's still 35, so 60 and 35 is only going to be 95 damage. So I'd kind of like to see that 95 be 100 damage, and then, you know, if someone has a health chip, they survive, but otherwise they don't. I'm not sure on this if it's going to be quite enough. Obviously, if you're hitting the head, it's better than it was. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure that this is going to fix the problems I was feeling with the weapon, but maybe I'm not. Maybe what I'm hoping is something that, you know, they think is too powerful. This is kind of an interesting one. The poison vial bubble lasts less time, which is good. It used to last a really long time, but now the cooldown only starts when the bubble pops, so you can't have multiple bubbles in play, which you couldn't before. You could only have one. You just always had one. You could have your expertise up to always have one. Although I forgot, Sasori has an ability that gives you expertise cooldown, so maybe you could before, but now you can't. It's impossible to have multiple bubbles. You can get one bubble, it'll last for 22 seconds, and then the cooldown will start. And the cooldown is adjusted. I don't think they call it out here for some reason, but the cooldown's different than what it was to make it so that it's not, you know, it used to be very long because it used to last all of this time. All right. Squire's Trident, who was their weapon 2, the damage down a little bit from 30 per burst to 29 per burst. I assume that's a body change? Yeah, I don't see it say headshot, so that's probably good. This weapon's incredibly strong. I'm glad to see this little knife. Alright, Yumi got a bunch of bug fixes, which we'll probably not really talk about, but the charge time on the weapon 1's a little stronger. I think that's good. I used Yumi weapon 1 recently. It felt okay, but 0.1 seconds on the charge time is welcome, I'll say. Make it a little bit friendlier to use for new Yumi players who might be coming in, and make it different than her weapon 3 there, I think are good goals. And that's all the changes. We could talk a lot about what they didn't necessarily hit, but I feel like that might not be worth talking about here, and I don't necessarily have a list to reference, so we'll probably just move on. But I expect there to be comments saying they should have done this, they should have done that, and I don't have anything to reference to actually go off of for that right now, so I'm not going to get into that. But I expect some comments saying, hey, they missed some stuff, and that's, yeah, they probably did, and nothing's immediately coming to my mind, but I'm sure if I thought about it, there's probably something. All right, the drone has a lifetime of 45 seconds. There's a big paragraph here, but long and the short of it is when you deploy the drone, you have 45 seconds before it automatically breaks. If you pick it up and redeploy it, you get another 45 seconds. So you can't just sit and drone infinitely. You can only do it for 45 seconds. Coincidentally, that's the same amount of time as the maximum package ping. I'm sure there's something there. Yeah. Pretty interesting change there. Little nerf to the drone, but I think most of the time it's not going to matter. It just kind of means you can't use it indefinitely, and you also have to fly it back to yourself, which is a little risk, but you could always just break it to get another 45 seconds. Hack Trap. This is a really nice change. Hack Trap objects now have a little glitch effect on them every 6 seconds. So if you're playing slow and you're looking for it, you should spot it. What you're gonna do when you spot it, I don't know. But you should be able to notice something's hack trap. Now, if you're playing slow, if you're sprinting from door to door, you probably may not see it unless you get lucky. But if you do hit one, then you can probably slow down and take a look for other trapped objects. Again, once you know some stuff is hacked, like if you really need to get in that blue room and it's hack trapped, you're still gonna have to get in that blue room. You might have to wait for an NPC to go in first, but at least you're aware of it happening now. I think that's a positive change. and the way they've implemented it so that the slower players are more likely to notice than the faster players, I think really gives Hack Trap a bit of an identity, and I think that's overall a solid change. Goopod. This is probably, I mean, overall this is obviously a nerf, but it's kind of funny. The goo pod no longer hides the pod with the goo. You'll see in a lot of my goo pod videos, especially the earlier ones, I used the lime green goo pod because you just couldn't see it in the goo. So I'm actually really hoping that it makes it easier to see the goo pod, because it's frustrating to be like, I know the best way to play around this goo pod is to shoot it, and I can't find it. Especially if you get a couple of them together so you don't necessarily know where the exact middle is. Yeah, I think this is an okay change. I think it's definitely a nerf, but I don't think it's really a nerf. All right, this is a huge change. Scrambler now disables the hack trap. As I was saying before, what do I do now that I realize that something is hack trapped? Well, the Scrambler will disable that now, so that's nice. So if you have your Scrambler on, then you don't get hack trapped. I mean, it's nice. Does it make the Scrambler good? I don't think so. But you know, it now is the disables everything. If you want to play the game in a style where you never get hit by a gadget, the Scrambler will now do that for you, unlike before where you still had to deal with the hack trap. So there you go. Scrambler buff. Tripwire. This is a tripwire nerf. I think this might be a big nerf, but I'm not confident how far 8 meters is to 3. But basically, the enemy tripwires are more visible than they used to be. 8 meters instead of 3, so more than twice as far, almost 3 times as far as they used to be. So, yeah, of course they do slowly fade in, so they weren't. So I don't think they're as visible at 8 as they were previously at 3, but more time to notice them is definitely a nerf to the tripwire. Again, still placing them behind doors people have to walk through isn't gonna, you know, give them that amount of space to notice them, but now if you throw them down in a hallway, they have a much better chance of seeing the actual beam rather than just the little nodes. Also, stop making your tripwire nodes bright colors, like, come on. You're trying to hide those a little bit more. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's talk about the shield. The shield got some huge changes. Okay. The deployed shield now entirely blocks everyone and everything. It is now a wall. The shield is now a wall. You cannot walk through the shield anymore. Like, you can't walk through the shield anymore. And you can't shoot through it. You can't, it's a wall. It's functionally a wall now. Now, what this means is you can't shield dance within the shield, which is nice, because that used to be really frustrating when you think you hit someone, but you actually hit the shield because they were literally inside the shield. It was really frustrating, especially when fighting them from the side of the shield. Sometimes you hit it and sometimes you like didn't. No more need to deal with that. Positive change there. The deployed shield takes half a second to fully materialize, meaning you can walk through it for that time. I think this is mostly so you can drop it while you're kind of running, and if they're too far behind you, it does become a wall. So like, this might be kind of a shield buff, even though it's also kind of a nerf. It's just kind of a side grade, a change. I think it's a really cool change, but it's gonna take half a second before it's a wall. But it doesn't say whether or not it takes. It says to fully materialize, but I'm assuming for that first half second it's still shielding you, because I don't specifically say it's not, which like doesn't necessarily fix the problem, because half a second of shield is kind of still usually enough. Anyway, kind of interesting, kind of cool. And of course, the deployed shield can be dismantled basically the same way as picking it up, and anyone can do that. They call it up here. Rival players and allies can interact with it while in cover to dismantle it. So someone can literally take apart your shield. It does say the same way as picking up your own gadget. The shield currently takes 2 seconds to pick up, which is kind of a long time. Like, if you drop a shield in a door, am I gonna have to take 2 seconds to pick it up if I want to keep my cover? Because that's a long time. Like, it's, yeah, I'm assuming it's not, but they don't tell me how long it is. If it is a full 2 seconds, I think it shouldn't be a full 2 seconds. That's a long time. especially to move a wall. Like, it's a physical wall now. You drop it in the doorway and it's gonna, I have to hack the door. Then I have to take another 2 seconds to pick your wall up. And then I have to go in. Like, it's a long time. So hopefully it's a kind of quick. I don't think it should be instant, but I think that it shouldn't. There's got to be a middle ground between instant and the full 2 seconds, I think is what I would like to see. I like this part of the change where there's no more shield dancing inside the shield. This part is kind of interesting. Hopefully, like, half a second isn't that long, so it might not matter too much. And then this is, it depends how long it's gonna take. But like, this should make an interesting shield fight. I still think shield's gonna be really good, especially the handheld mode, which is the one I have more problems with. But I'm excited to see these shield changes, but I do worry that we're just making a movable wall. Like, they did give us a way to break it, but it's still a wall, and we'll have to see. I'm concerned, but hopeful. So that's kind of my thoughts. We're coming up just past the 30-minute mark, it looks like. These are all bug fixes. I read through these, not many of them seemed all that important. Like, they did, but not worth specifically calling out. One thing is that your cover won't scream when you break your cover. That used to happen, where you would break your own cover and like your cover would react. It was kind of funny, but didn't make sense. I'm kind of glad it's gone. And this is my favorite bug fix. Where is it? There it is. All NPCs can now sneeze. There we go. That's the best bug fix I've ever seen. But yeah, there's a bunch of them. Bunch of bug fixes. Shockwave will now blow cover correctly. Static cage benefits from the energy siphon cooldown reduction properly. The recon drone won't trigger the expertise 2 there. Yeah. I don't think there's any really that I'm calling out. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's it. And, oh yeah, there's some map ones, hang on. Yeah, a bunch of unsittable seats and multiple keycode spawns were fixed. Yep, these are them, these are them. I mean, you can pause and read these if you want. Seaweed no longer clips through the windows. Yeah, there we go. That's the whole patch. Not as many agent balance changes as I was expecting, I'll be honest. That area was a little thinner than I expected it to be, especially given it's a big season change, not just like, you know, we've had, I don't necessarily want to call them smaller changes, but we've had smaller changes in previous times where like we have an event that changes some little things. I kind of expected some bigger things from this section. Obviously, new agent is wonderful. The big map changes is great. But I do think this agent balance section is a little lacking. I kind of expected a little more change. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure I can call out a specific thing I was looking for change that didn't get changed. I know a lot of people might say Yumi Weapon 2, and I hear you. I'm not sure myself personally, maybe a little one. Anyway, that's the patch. That's the whole thing. We were through it. Really excited about some things, and we're kind of waiting to see on some things. I'm not particularly upset about any of the changes. I'm not like, oh, that sucked for anything. I really like the ping change to not waste my time so much. There's a couple videos, if you haven't seen them yet, of me just going, oh, now a Larcin's gonna take 8 minutes to lose the game, and then 8 minutes later a Larcin loses the game. I'm glad that hopefully won't happen anymore. This I don't know about, but like, I'm not upset with any of these changes, so I think it's good. We could say they missed stuff, and I think you could call out some stuff they missed, but overall, what they have done is I like. Yeah, I think that's it. So we'll leave it here, almost 35-minute mark now. Look at me talking for too long. Anyway, we'll be back for some season 4. Actually, I think I'm gonna try, if I can do it, to do our new agent video before this one. So hopefully you already saw season 4, even though I'm recording this before I actually have played it. Yeah, do look out for these in the future. I hope you enjoyed. Comment on your thoughts, of course. what else do I usually say? If you did enjoy, like the video, subscribe for deceiving content like this going forward, and I will see you guys in the next one.